All right, and welcome back to episode 14 of the Alec Frengos show. This is a sports podcast centered around NBA and NFL, and today we'll be predicting the NFC South, a team you're buying into this year, a team you're fading this year. Would you rather, and which year we're going to play again, where you and Carter previously did. Let's see if we can get a little bit better. But today I'm joined with Joey Price, Ryan McKellar, and Wyatt Thomas making his first appearance on the show. And we're going to be going over your Saints record prediction and your division NFC South. We got the Bama jersey for Bryce Young. We got Kyle Pitts. We don't got anyone repping the Buccaneers. I probably would be if Brady was still on the Buccaneers, but I don't really care about the Bucs anymore. So yeah, we'll start with a team you're buying into this year. So we're going to have this. I'm going to get some sticky notes after this episode. We're going to put them up on the wall. Which team you are buying into heavily to just basically do the opposite of what they did last year, or just get to a different level. What team you really believe in this year, and then which team you don't really believe in and you think is going to do pretty bad this year. So I'm going to start with you, Joey. Which team are you buying into this year?
This year, many people won't like this, but I'm buying into the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Obviously, they've had lots of success over the years, but I have them going on a deeper run in the playoffs. And ultimately, with the new pieces they added in, and Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, I think that will push them to the top.
All right. Ryan, what do you got?
Team I'm buying into it was one of the lower end teams last year. I'm buying into the Houston Texans this year.
Okay.
I think just based on their roster, how it looks like, and at least for this year, like usually sometimes a rookie quarterback comes into a team with a pretty bad offensive line, but to be honest, the Texans got a pretty sturdy offensive line. Their defense,
Yep.
if you look down in the depth chart, it's pretty solid defense, and their offense is young receivers, second-year running back, pretty young offense, but coming from 5 wins last year, I think they could maybe hit like a 7-win mark.
5 wins?
I think it was 4 or 5. Something like
Last
that.
year, they had 3.
Oh, okay. And then a tie. They had a tie, yeah.
Coach tried to
But
steal him at the end.
and then with the new coach, it's like I think they'll surpass what they had last year. They'll get close to a 5-6 win mark, maybe.
Okay, that's fair. So gradually, you're buying in. It's
Oh,
kind of like you're buying into them
this
to
year,
be great in a couple of years.
I know you could it's they're not maybe they're a dark horse because I think they can compete with that division, but I think they'd be a dark horse to even. I mean, whatever their win total is, they might pass that. So
That's fair. So the team I'm buying into here is kind of a team like Joey, a team that's in the upper echelon of the league still, but I'm looking for them to take the next jump here. I got the Baltimore Ravens I'm buying into. I just think Lamar Jackson's coming off this brand new contract. He won't be, if people said he was faking any injuries, holding out, playing it safe. There's no more of that. He's going to play his best football. They've obviously surrounded him with great weapons. Mark Andrews is still there. They'll have a good run game no matter who's in the backfield. Odell Beckham Jr., drafting Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman coming back off injury. Isaiah Likely is in the scrub really as a backup tight end. And I think a big key for Lamar Jackson's success is going to have to be Todd Monken's play calling coming over from Georgia. They had, I believe, his name before. Greg Roman.
Yeah, he was not good at all.
But for Lamar's skill set, I think he was very good. But they couldn't really capitalize in the air because of weapons and Lamar's inability to throw. So I think with the Baltimore Ravens getting Todd Monken, who is a 2-time national championship offensive coordinator back-to-back, hopefully it can translate into the NFL, and he can take the Ravens big steps to a deep playoff run and AFC championship appearance, maybe a Super Bowl appearance, depending on how things play out. And that defense will just be what it's been for the last 10, 15 years, you can even say. It's been one of the best defenses in the league. But yeah, I'm buying into the Baltimore Ravens big time this year. Go ahead.
I'm buying into, Joey's going to be happy, the Denver Broncos, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm saying because they're obviously...
Oh, shit. Go ahead. My bad.
They're obviously bringing in Sean Payton as a new coach, and they have Russell Wilson, who looked awful last year, but I don't think he's dead yet.
Okay.
I think he'll still be decent. And they Jerry Jeudy emerged as a clear wide receiver 1 for them at the end of last season. They have a young running back, Javonte Williams, coming back, and he's not on a big deal yet, which allows them to, should players potentially come available, they can potentially go after some people. They have, and I said Sean Payton, he's known as a good offensive and especially QB coach. He's made bad QBs look decent, like
that's
Teddy
true.
Bridgewater and stuff like that. They had a pretty good defense last year, despite the team not being great, which kept them in a lot of games that they probably should have lost by a lot more or should not have been close. But and they always have Surtain, who emerged as probably a top 5 corner to most people.
Yeah,
And
top 3, I think.
Yeah, I said top 5 because I don't know what everyone's opinions are, but
Yeah.
And then they have pretty good line. And they have an over the top Simmons as well as pretty good at safety. Their defense was at top 10 in rushing yards allowed, and they were top 10 in passing yards allowed, so they were not bad at all.
Another
last year.
defense that's been good for the past decade.
And I said, most importantly, they have talent on offense to have a good offense, which was why last year was so surprising that they were not great.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of mistakes, like game management wise, week 1 against the Seahawks.
That's
comes
just
to
on
mind.
the coaching.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll happen now that they have an established good head coach coming in, and they kind of has to because they gave up a lot to get that established head coach. But
Yeah,
I
they
think
did.
that'll work out. I think I had them going like 12-5 in my record,
Wow.
which is,
Okay.
might be high, but I also think
Well, you're buying into them, so if
Yeah.
you think all this is going to change it, and obviously you're a Saints fan, so if Sean Payton, you obviously think he's that great, so if he can take Wilson back to his old self. One thing I want to add from your point, which you're probably waiting to say, the Broncos have a new revamped O-line too.
Yeah.
Ben Powers, Mike McGlinchey not only will help in the run game, they can pass block as well, which the Broncos, can we say they had a bottom 5, bottom 10 O-line last year?
Bottom 5.
Yeah, it just wasn't that great. So I'm going to let you, if you want to go over anything that he missed and what you think, why the Denver Broncos have such a high ceiling here.
Well, I just think because the defense was so good last year, and if they can repeat that this season with the offense, because if they score, it was 16 points. If the Broncos scored that last year, they'd win like 12 or 13 games. So with Sean Payton, they're going to be putting up like 23, 24 every game.
Yeah.
And with the defense, they'll be winning a lot of games. Well, one thing here is the cornerback 2 spot with Damari Mathis, because certain teams won't be throwing to him a lot. So Damari Mathis, he'll have to be a big X factor because he'll be targeted a lot.
Yeah, a lot of these big-time teams now, they do have elite wide receiver twos.
Yeah.
You see, well, maybe the Chiefs they don't really have a crazy wide receiver room.
Chargers don't.
But Chargers, they've got Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen. Like, the list doesn't really end. And then the Raiders even, they've got a pretty good wide receiver core. They got Renfro, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, obviously the one. But yeah, just stuff like that where it's gonna have to put a lot of pressure on Damari Mathis if he's in that corner 2 slot. And the Broncos, I don't think behind Surtain it's very elite.
No. There's not
Second,
much depth there.
Yeah. But anyways, what is a team that don't have any expectations for, and you're kind of just like they're gonna have a very bad year this year? Who do you got?
I don't think this team will have a very bad year.
It's just that they won't exceed their
because they
expectations.
have a very, very easy schedule and they're in a weak division, and we're going to be talking about them today. It's the New Orleans Saints. I've never been high on Derek Carr. I think they're just desperate to bring in a quarterback.
Yeah.
Just because they think they can make the playoffs in a weak division. And I think with Dennis Allen, we've seen before like a weak quarter or like a mid quarterback going to bottom 3 coach in the league. It hasn't worked in the past, so I think the rest of the roster's fine. Like their offense, their receivers are good, the O-line's good, but their defense has regressed a lot, and the coaching staff is not great.
Yeah, so he was praising you, and then you just came back right after and just shitted on him. So before I go to Wyatt here, we're gonna get to it a little bit. We're gonna get to it a little bit in a sec here. The division predictions, obviously, but do you believe in the Saints here as not only a playoff team, but do they have the upside to win a playoff game?
Yeah, I think they for sure do, just because of how weak their division is. I think you can snag 6 wins from your division if you do a full sweep, which is going to be huge. And then based on their other teams that they play, their toughest quarterbacks, I think it was like Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, and I think if you want to throw Tannehill in there. So it's like it's pretty open for them, honestly. It's like, because as long as they got Derek Carr, who, like, maybe not high on him as like a top 10, 15 quarterback in the league, but he can distribute the ball. I mean, you got Chris Olave, who's going to break out in a year or two. Michael Thomas, who, I mean, if he is coming back healthy and he was maybe just faking a little bit towards the end of the year just to get out of that joke of a team that they had. But, I mean, maybe you could say their defense has kind of fallen off, but I think it's just the Saints defense. They're always going to be known to be some bash dummies out there.
I think they've got Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, and you can even say Lattimore and Matthew, who was in Louisiana previously. It's just a culture where it's just what's the word? It just infects the locker room.
Kind of,
It just infects the locker room with that. Go out there and just play your ass off, right? And these mid players show to be great.
They have certain things they're better at on defense. They're a pretty good team against the run usually, but sometimes good receivers, like the London game against the Vikings, Jefferson torched them last year.
Yeah,
well, that's normal, but
it is. But I remember there's specific examples. Jamar Chase had a big game against them.
Oh
too.
yeah, you did.
Star wide receivers can go off against the Saints. I found. Last year.
So without giving it away too much, like the Saints, do you think that they're being a little bit overhyped because of the schedule and the weak division, or do you think they'll be just fine the way people are rating them?
I don't think they're overhyped just because they have an extremely weak schedule.
Yeah,
and that they'll probably have like a padded record in a way that like they'll be whatever they are, and people say, "Oh my God, they're 11-6 or 12-5." But that's just because they got a bunch of easy games. They might win a playoff game. I don't see them going past the division round.
Okay, that's fair. So yeah, go ahead with your team that you're fading this year.
My team I'm fading, I'm just gonna go with the Raiders just because, like, Devontae Adams came out and said he's kind of frustrated that Josh Jacobs isn't reporting to camp. So it's like there's too much going on with that team, because if Jacobs doesn't want to report to the team,
it doesn't make him want to play.
Who knows if Devontae Adams by the deadline, if he'll even want to be there.
Yeah.
Because especially if Jimmy G is having a frustrating year, him not doing good at all, it's like it'd be tough, because then if Adams goes, Jacobs still not reporting, he'll hold out. Maybe if he holds out for a year, holds out for a little while, then that team is just, it just doesn't seem like there's anything going with them. And then their defense, it's like a pretty old defense. I mean, Chandler Jones didn't do anything last year for his hype. Yeah, you still got Max Crosby, he's a great player, but then your DBs,
they drafted someone, right? But they've got no one.
Yeah,
it
was like, what was it?
Do you remember who they drafted?
Yeah.
Tyree Wilson.
Yeah. But behind that,
I don't know. They drafted Michael Mayer and.
Yeah, but it's like still their DBs. DBs aren't appealing. Like they did sign Marcus Peters and Nate Hobbs, but like it's not going to do much. And you still got third year Trayvon Merrick, but like
who hasn't really panned out.
It's just like this team is just up in the air. Like they have good receivers, but everything could just blow up like halfway through the year. So that's a team like I'd stay away from in a lot of things.
Obviously, they're bound to have worse than what they had last year, and they still did have a pretty bad season too last year. But Devontae Adams came there for Derek Carr, which kind of sucks. They just threw him to the fire after one bad season, where it has to make Devontae Adams think, like, I can't be here. I'm in my prime of my career, and I'm playing for a bottom 3 team in the NFL. It's just a waste of my career. And if he ends up playing, like, hit the rest of his contract out, and then he's out of his prime, it might be one of the most disappointing things ever in the NFL, because he is such a talented receiver. He's my number 2 behind Jefferson right now, and he was my number 1 going into last year. He's so special. He's a generational receiver, and it sucks that he's just rotting on this god-awful roster.
He's been a top receiver for a few years now, and receivers recently have shown to have a decently short shelf life.
Yeah.
So we don't know how many more years he has of being an elite receiver. So in the fact that he's kind of wasting possibly the last few years he has of being the top 3, top 5 receiver on the Raiders, who in all likeliness are going nowhere, is pretty disappointing. And I'm sure he's regretting forcing his way out of Green Bay out of that last year, because if he's still there, I'd bet a lot of money Rodgers does not leave.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Because they would have made the playoffs if they had Devontae Adams,
easily.
for sure.
Yeah.
So the team that I'm fading here is a team that did make the playoffs last year. It's the New York Giants for me. They won a playoff game too, but I just can't buy this. The relationship between Saquon and the management just seems torn to me. I think it's a fake deal they really got done. Saquon Barkley wanted big-time money, and they refused to give it to him. And then this whole running back market thing exploded, and he had to take what he could get. eventually, because he's had a lot of injuries in his career, and with a bounce back year this year, he looked for the most money at the worst time. And Daniel Jones, I don't mind him as a quarterback, but I think that Brian Dable was a big part of his success, and he did make Daniel Jones great. But in a way, 60% of the offense was Saquon Barkley last year. He did do everything for that team, receiving, rushing, and I don't really know. I don't think this team is a playoff team, even in a very weak NFC. They're in one of the hardest divisions in football. You could say the hardest. And yeah, I'm going to stay away from the Giants this year, and I don't think they'll be a playoff team this year. But I do like Dable as a coach, and I think Saquon's generational running back, so it kind of sucks the situation they're in right now. Go ahead.
The team I'm selling is actually the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay, so in division, buying the Broncos, selling the Chargers.
Yes, I do. I said because their offensive core, it does look pretty good on paper, but Keenan Allen, who's most people think of as their wide receiver one, he's been up there for a long time and has had some serious injury problems the last few years. And it clearly looks like he's on the decline of his career.
Okay.
Mike Williams is kind of the next guy up, but he seems to he's just a deep ball guy. He might catch one
jump ball
again, like one or two deep balls.
He's not a number one receiver.
He's not going to make the plays you need from a true wide receiver one. And then the running back Austin Eckler, who can make plays, but he seems like saw in the playoff last year. They're not built to win games and hold leads like that. They had serious problems running the football and trying to run the clock, and because they were up 27-0.
Yeah, something.
And they
like
couldn't you just run the ball. If you get a few first downs, that game is over.
Yep.
No matter when you get them. And they just gave Herbert the biggest extension in football history, I think.
Yep.
And
highest paid quarterback, highest paid player.
Yeah, he clearly has the talent, but I've seen some IQ issues. He doesn't always make the smartest throws.
Okay.
He can make mistakes sometimes, and it can cost them games or make games more difficult. Their defense has some good players. Derwin James, the obvious star there, he's pretty young, so he'll be good for a while. But Khalil Mack is 32 and going into the 10th year of his career.
Yeah, he's not really anything anymore.
That position is pretty deep into their career and normally is around where things start to go wrong. And Bosa is still an elite player, but again, consistent injury problems, has not been able to stay healthy for a number of years. And also, they have a pretty tough schedule. Obviously, they have to play the Chiefs twice in that division. Yeah. But outside of their division, they play Miami, Minnesota, Dallas, the Jets, the Ravens, and Buffalo.
So a lot of toss-up games.
And the AFC is loaded. In order to make the playoffs, you're going to have to win a few of those games, and I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah, so the one thing I think that's big for the Los Angeles Chargers is number one, injuries. Joey Bosa injured, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen both injured, J.C. Jackson injured, Rashad Slater out for the year last year, and he is probably the second best player on offense for them, Rashad Slater. That's why I think if you bring him back, he's the cornerstone of the O-line. If they got Quentin Johnson, who they drafted, so that will help for their receiving core. But I think in my opinion, the Chargers will be fine just because of the depth now that they have at receiver. I don't really like their run scheme at O-line, but the one thing which we've been talking about, right? The new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, for the Chargers, coming over from the Cowboys. I think he's really going to change that offensive scheme, not only elevate Herbert, but just elevate the offense as a whole. And the way he will hopefully use Eckler, and then hopefully they can get better on the ground because you need to be able to run the football to pass the football.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with the Los Angeles Chargers and why they blew the ridiculous lead.
They couldn't, during the season, they couldn't hold leads. They only looked really good when they were blowing teams out, and it didn't really matter if they could run a good offense or not. They just, whatever they did, they still were up 3 touchdowns so in the fourth quarter. But in close games, in games especially where they're also down and need to get back into it, they showed some issues.
Yeah. Quickly here for you, the Chargers, who do you think is a better team coming into the year? Like, who do you have bigger expectations for, the Chargers or the Broncos? Because that's kind of really where it is here.
Expectations, I have higher expectations for the Broncos because you can't be any worse, I think, than what they were last year from what they have. I think they can only go up from there. If they go down from there, then you got major issues. But the Chargers think the only thing holding the Chargers back is injuries, right? I mean, if that team, you give them a fully healthy season, like no one's hurt, then they're definitely a top team, definitely a threat. But you can't just say that, because you know that one of their guys are going to go down potentially with an injury, because it's been happening the past couple of years, right? I mean, Keenan Allen's is still a great receiver. I still like Keenan Allen. He's good. He's still polished. He's a good route runner still, but it's just the injuries that are keeping him back. Like, I don't think we'll get another full season of Keenan Allen with the rest of his career. So I think Broncos will for sure have the more expectations for. I mean, but Chargers, I think they're just good as where they're ranked. I don't think they're too much of an overhyped team yet. So
no, that's fair.
The team apparently clearly likes what they have, and they think they can win with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have paid Herbert
and fired Brandon Staley, which should have been done, in my opinion.
Making those actions locks them in for the significant future.
Mm-hmm.
This core, at least, and to try and win with it. So.
Yeah, because Mike Williams, young, Quentin Johnson will probably move up in the depth chart as Keenan Allen gets older. Khalil Mack will leave. Joey Bosa's still pretty young. They've just got a ton of young pieces that are slowly getting paid, which will eat at the cap and affect their window of winning if all these guys are just going to take massive contracts. That's the one problem about the Chargers. So to recap here, you were buying into
Cowboys,
Texans,
Ravens,
Broncos,
selling
Saints,
Raiders,
Giants,
Chargers.
Okay, so we'll keep this up here, and then we'll follow along as a season and see if anything changes here for the narratives. But now we'll get into which year these players or teams win championships. So I'm going to start here with 2012. Which teams won the championships? NHL, NFL, NBA. So you guys can discuss it, and just shout it out. Okay, correct.
Was NHL the Los Angeles Kings?
Correct.
And I don't know if it was 12 or 13. Was that the Ravens Super Bowl?
Correct. Okay, so
wow, I didn't even get to speak yet.
We got the old sports knowledge. I know I wanted to do this because I knew you know a lot of these. So we're gonna go here. 2017.
Warriors NBA.
Correct.
Okay.
NHL was the Penguins.
And the Patriots,
Incorrect.
right?
Incorrect.
What?
Or
2017.
2018.
Yeah.
That's Eagles then.
2017
Correct. Eagles.
was the Capitals then.
I don't know.
Correct.
Okay.
Capitals. Okay, so we're going faster.
Yeah. Holy shit. All right.
Okay, we're gonna get you to get a guess
Yeah,
here.
I gotta get a little word.
This is MVPs now.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
2020. Go ahead.
Oh, that's tough. It's bullshit. COVID
I know
year.
NFL.
Go ahead.
Rogers.
Correct.
I know NBA. Do you want to take a guess though?
I'll go hockey, because I would have been.
Heart. This is the heart.
Yeah. 2020.
Give us the
Giannis.
correct.
LeBron was robbed.
20.
Gosh, stop this.
2020. Okay.
2020 NHL.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been. I think McDavid's won it a couple times, but I think wouldn't have been.
Draisaitl that good back then?
I don't.
Correct.
It was.
Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was quick.
That was fast.
I wasn't expecting that, but we'll just go to the next thing here. Would you rather Marshon Lattimore?
Ooh.
Okay.
So I got some names here, and we'll see who you got. Would you rather Lattimore? I'm just putting it down here. All right. First name, Trayvon Diggs.
I'm taking Lattimore because Trayvon Diggs seems pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, I'm taking Lattimore as well.
Like he'll get a pick in the game, but he'll give up 120 yards.
I'll go next. I'm gonna take Trayvon Diggs. I think he's, even though he likes to jump the gun a lot, Lattimore. I like Diggs better than Lattimore because I'd rather someone that will give up 100 yards and give you a pick than someone that will give up 150 with no picks.
I'm going Trayvon Diggs.
He did that one game.
You're going Trayvon Diggs.
I'm going Trayvon Diggs.
Like, the only thing about Lattimore is that he can only lock up Mike Evans. That's the only player he's known for guarding. Jefferson, like you admitted it in London.
Okay,
how much did Jefferson have? 400 yards?
Oh my god.
I mean, Waddle had, I think, like 150 on him too. So it's like,
Did they play last year?
when
Or
Ian
was that-
Book was QB.
Oh, that was 2 years ago. Yeah.
torched him.
But yeah, let's do this. Let's actually pull up this. Let's go Lattimore, how many yards he gave up each game.
Okay.
Because I'm actually
He
interested.
didn't play
in this.
very many games last year. He had a last.
Because the thing I just like about Trayvon Diggs over him is because, okay, what if he gives up 140 yards and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, out of nowhere, they're doing a drive and he comes out of nowhere, interception,
Game
seals
over.
the game. Like he did that. He had 10 interceptions, 11 interceptions that year. But it's like if he's okay, he'll give up. I'll let him give up 250 yards to a guy, but if it's still a close game in the fourth quarter, he comes up with a clutch pick. It's like all that goes out the window because then you got to win on the stat sheet at the end of the game.
Yeah. Do we have any?
I'm trying to find his. Yeah, here it stats per game, ESPN. So. Where does it say?
I don't know. I can't really pull it up.
I'm trying,
No,
yeah,
it's
I'm
fine.
trying to see. I'm trying to find something that shows how many yards he gave up per game. It's hard to find.
I don't know if they keep track.
Yeah.
Where to find it.
All I can see is like his.
All right,
like,
just
how
go
many
go through the schedule.
for last
Who
year.
they played last year, because I feel like I can remember a couple of those games here. Who he played.
Yeah.
First game was the Falcons.
He only played 7 games though too. That's the thing.
I don't.
They won that game like at the end. Like remember that?
Yeah, the field
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think here. Like, he goes up against Evans. He usually gets the better of Evans. Panthers, DJ Moore, how does he do?
I don't remember if he played that game or
Is
not.
he, like, crazy good against DJ Moore? Because I don't really
remember
know.
DJ Moore going crazy on him.
I don't hear about him during those games, so it must be a good thing against DJ
Yeah.
Moore.
You think
Yeah.
so?
If I'm not hearing a lot about it, right?
Seahawks, he's done pretty well against DK. There's the obvious.
DK torched him
Is that-
one game, I remember.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, they
the
were
primetime game.
They had
Yeah,
a
there
little
was that
back
fight.
and
I think
forth.
it was
the year
he had
before
one
last year.
play, and then which was a flag, but side note. But he's
They were
like
going back and forth. a
over.
little bit.
They're pretty even. DK
Yeah.
doesn't go insane, but
Yeah.
he normally does pretty
All right,
well
we'll go.
against
We'll go
DK.
next name then. J.C. Horn. Go ahead, Joey.
I'm taking JC Horn.
Because he was hurt last year, wasn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. So
He was crazy his rookie year though.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean Lattimore's still good. I'll go Lattimore over JC Horn.
Currently, because J.C. Horn was hurt, Lattimore. But next year, who do I think will be the better corner? I'm gonna lean J.C. Horn.
I'm gonna take Lattimore right now, just because J.C. Horn, as you said, he was hurt and he's still a little bit unproven. He was good his rookie year, but didn't really play a lot last year, so we don't have a ton of tape on him, at least in the NFL. We have more on Lattimore, and he's been proven, so I'm gonna say Lattimore right now. But I agree with him. In a year or two, that could change.
Yeah.
That's fair. Next name, Darius Slay.
I'm taking Darius Slay right now. He's
Darius Slay.
Darius Slay.
I'm also gonna go
Yeah.
Darius Slay.
proven to be one of the better corners in the league for
Yeah.
a while, and he can do it in
Man-to-man
big
as well.
in big games too.
Next name, Trey White.
I'm taking Lattimore. I think Trey White's getting a little up there for a corner.
I'm taking Lattimore too.
I've seen a lot of Trey White. Being a Dolphins fan, don't really like him just because of the fact that I see him twice a year putting the straps on sometimes. But I think I'll go Marshon Lattimore too.
I'm also gonna go
Yeah.
Marshon Lattimore. Trey White tore that ACL a couple years ago, and I feel like he hasn't came back the same player. So I'd rather take Lattimore, a bit younger as well. Two more names here: Tariq Woolen. Go ahead, Joey.
I'm gonna go Marshon Lattimore slightly, but
Projection: Tariq Woolen.
Tariq Woolen. Yeah.
Current and projection.
It's close. I mean, I'll go Tariq Woolen current, and projection I'll also go Tariq Woolen to be better.
Right now, I don't know, because corners come in, they're just like this. Like we said, Tariq Woolen had an argument to be statistically as good as Sauce Gardner last year.
Yeah. Sauce
Gardner had better competition, but Tariq Woolen was absolutely right there. And for that reason, I'm going to take Tariq Woolen over Marshon Lattimore. I think he's that good out of the gate. One of the craziest draft steals in recent history as well. Go ahead.
Again, same deal as the last one. I think I'm going to take Lattimore right now, just because Woolen's only been here for not a long time, and don't
Move your mic up a bit.
have a ton of tape on him quite yet. But if you talk to me again halfway through the season, I might say Tariq Woolen if he shows just as good, because corner is hit or miss as well. You could have one crazy year in your rookie season because they don't really know much about you yet, and then the next year that they could find some way to exploit you.
You have an example? Has there kind of been anyone in the recent Was Trayvon Diggs like that? Was he crazy his first year and then he started jumping the gun a little bit?
Maybe not like
I think he got progressively better.
Like
Just
I don't
know
think,
them a little bit
if you
better?
Think of like Sauce, like how he was like seen as like one of the better corners. I'm sure he'll still be very good. But now that teams have seen him and
His tape and technique, yeah,
and might know what would work better against him, I think he might digress slightly.
that's fair. Last name, Xavier Howard.
I'm gonna take Lattimore.
Go ahead.
I'm taking Lattimore.
You go.
I'm also gonna take Marshon Lattimore. I like corners that can play man, especially,
that's fair.
and I think Lattimore does do that better than Howard.
Yeah.
Howard's obviously more of a zone type of ball hawk. Lattimore he doesn't look for the interceptions. He just likes playing man to man and getting the pass breakup and just doing his job. That's why I'd favor I'd lean Lattimore slightly. I think it's very neck and neck though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because a couple of years ago, we're talking Howard top 5.
and he was DPOY voting, right? But it was TJ Walcott. I think it should have been Howard. But
Wow.
We'll leave that out. But no, I guess I'll go Lattimore just because Howard has been battling injuries too. Hamstring injury last year kept him out a little bit.
Yeah. He has gotten a little banged up like Trey White,
and then
too.
injuries like for a corner, it's kind of tough because sometimes you don't come back from it because you might lose your step on receivers.
And
but
mobility.
But yeah, Howard zone corner. He's a zone hawk. He'll get picks in a nice zone defensive scheme. But I think when you get a receiver or a corner who can strap down on man, then you really got no worries. So yeah, I think Lattimore's a better.
If you want to go back, I found the yards per game.
Let's go to it.
Go to it.
These ones for last season. So Drake London,
How much?
he allowed him 2 receptions for 37 yards.
Okay.
On, it doesn't say how many
That's fine.
targets here, but then it was Mike Evans had 2 receptions for 17 yards.
That's when the fight happened, week 2.
Yeah, they got it tossed. And then Roby Chosen Anderson.
What team? Panthers?
Yeah.
Yep. No catches, no yards.
DJ Moore probably got hurt.
Yeah. And then it was Justin Jefferson, 7 catches. Or no, sorry, it does say targets here. 11 targets, 7 catches, 94 yards.
He had
That's on Jefferson.
Yeah.
So the other ones weren't on Jefferson.
with a
game.
touchdown, yeah.
Yes.
What the touchdown was like that one jet sweep. So it's not like
he had one. And then he actually held DK Metcalf to no catches and no yards this year. I don't know if
Really?
he got hurt that game. It says 2 targets, no catches, no yards, 1 pass breakup. And then AJ Brown had a decent game. 5 catches for 44 yards and 2 pass breakups.
And they're probably switching on and off Smith
Yeah.
and them.
And then
Who's the number 2 on the Saints last year? Was it Paulson Adebo?
yes, I'm struggling. And then the last one he played last year was Terrace Marshall, 1 catch for 21 yards on 3 targets. So
Yeah.
other than Jefferson, there's not really any things that stick out there.
Was he hurt, Lattimore, a bit?
Yeah. He only played the 7
Was
games.
it back, I think, or something
He was
like
and he
that?
actually had a lacerated kidney for a while.
Damn.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's actually very bad for a football player. Okay, so, yeah, we'll get into once again, the main event of the episode, NFC South record predictions. And we're going to do, like you guys saw last time, number 4 record go around. We could talk about it. Number 3 record go around. So really give the team what seed, why they're that record, and kind of your spiel on them for the season here. And I'm going to start with you, Joey. Who do you have coming in at number 4?
I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in at 3-14 and finishing 14th in the West. I think
Okay.
with Baker Mayfield, obviously we've seen it. He's had no success, and I don't think that's going to start with a bad O-line and a bad coaching staff.
Bad play calling, may I add.
Yeah.
Number 4.
I got the Bucks as well.
At what record?
2-15 though. Fuck.
Wow.
Like I have them.
Bless you.
I have them low. Like no, just because I mean, I feel this is just me projecting. Like I feel like they're gonna steal a couple more games. I just can't put my finger on which games they'll steal because obviously there'll be a game that you don't think that they'll win that they'll come out and steal because their defense is still pretty good. But
Caleb Williams season for the Buccaneers? Or Drake May-ish?
I guess you got to start to look at that, right? I mean, the Cardinals are kind of holding that down, kind of the
Yeah, they
first
are.
pick. But no, I think 2-15 is good. I don't know what seed that put them, probably last in the West or in the NFC. Sorry, but
Second
yeah,
last,
around there.
something. For me at number 4, I do have the Carolina Panthers coming in at 3-14. I just think this team, new head coach, they got Bryce Young. I think it's a developmental year. I think that they don't have any insane weapons. They've got DJ Chark, they've got Adam Thielen, they've got Jonathan Mingo, who they drafted, who I'm pretty high on. They got a good run game with Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. They've got a mediocre O-line, I think you could say is fair. They got Tremble at tight end. Like, this team, it doesn't really give me anything eye-popping. Bryce Young, I don't know how he's going to be out of the gate in an NFL scenario. I think he does have a great coaching staff with Frank Reich and Josh McCown around him, but the Panthers, it's going to take time. You're going to need a couple young pieces on Bryce Young's timeline to help him get there. J.C. Horn, like we were just saying, coming back. They don't got a ton of star power on the D-line. They've got Brian Burns. Yeah. Sorry, that's who I was going to say. They've got decent linebackers. The secondary is really the good thing about this team.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young's upside, in 2 years, we could be talking about, if he pans out, an MVP-type guy, winning this division, and just much more. But for the Carolina Panthers, I have them coming in at 3-14 here, last in the NFC South.
So
Go
they
ahead.
actually have 3 different 4 seeds. I have the Falcons coming in at 4-13.
Wow. Okay.
Holy.
What do you think holds this team back?
I really don't think they're much different than last year, and they still weren't great. They obviously have, like, they haven't really used the weapons they have, mainly the guy in his jersey.
Yeah.
They've used him a little more last year, but he should be getting, with that kind of athleticism and talent, he should be getting way more targets. Their defense was pretty bad. They got Calais Campbell, who is really on the tail end
Jeff
of his career
Okuda,
now.
which good thing Jay's not here.
Yeah.
He's straight garbage.
Yeah, he's looked bad. I just think they're going to be very similar to that they were last year and regress, and they just haven't really looked like they have much to offer.
Yeah. Go ahead here, Joey. Who's coming in at number 3 for you?
Number 3, I have the Carolina Panthers at 7-10.
Ooh, okay.
Like you said, there's just so many new pieces coming in, and I don't think they'll be able to gel well together on offense.
Yeah.
But I do really like the defense, especially the secondary. And look out for Derek Brown in the interior on the defensive line.
That's who I was trying to, because I knew they had a couple guys on the D-line.
Yeah.
I just forgot. Obviously, we know Brian Burns, but Derek
Yeah.
Brown, huge D tackle for the run game for them. Yeah, who do you got here?
I got the Panthers coming at 6-11, so
Okay.
kind of the similar. If you look at all the other teams that they play and who their losses, I think they're like fair losses.
Yeah.
Like you can say right out the gate losses, but they do have they've built a good roster around Bryce Young coming in on the offense, but it's still rookie QB. Can't ask a lot from him. And then I think the Panthers defense is still good. Like, we got chin over curl. And then,
I hope he's watching.
chin over curl. J.C. Horn still. Like, they're just pretty young team, I guess you could say, because I mean it's all about quarterback play, and it's tough to ask a quarterback to just come in and give you an insane amount of wins right off.
I feel like that's the main thing about this division is quarterback play. I feel like who has the best quarterback play could win this division, honestly. For me, coming in at number 3, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-12. I think that, in my opinion, this roster is a playoff roster with a good QB that can give them some life. But I think for the Buccaneers, if you barely made the playoffs with Tom Brady, you're not going to make the damn playoffs with Baker Mayfield. And it's tough for this team because I do believe that they have a good roster. They've got Devin White, Shaquille Barrett, Vita Vea, Sean Murphy-Bunting's gone, Jamal Dean they just paid, Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield Jr. is not a scrub back there. And there's just so many pieces. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still at the peak of their career, and you just leave all these guys hanging dry here with, you don't even go out and try to make an aggressive move for, you get a little bit better than Baker Mayfield. You can. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-12, not too much to see here. I don't like the coaching staff. I don't like the quarterback. Those are two very key pieces to a successful football team. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-12, third in the division.
I have Panthers, same record that Joey had them at 7-10. I just think that they're bringing in, obviously, the new quarterback, Bryce Young, but they're not really giving him, as they got rid of DJ Moore. They brought in Adam Thielen, who's kind of proven to be, he's all right, but he's not really a wide receiver 1.
Locker room guy.
I don't think they have like a dead set wide receiver 1 and a guy who can make plays if they need to. So I think Bryce Young will have to play really well in order to make that team look good. And I don't know if he can do that as a rookie. I don't think he's going to be bad, but I also think he might look iffy his first year just due to the fact that there's not much around him to throw to.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to overachieve to make that offense look good. And the defense is, again, you said, not bad. They can definitely win some games there. But, the other thing is this division's such a toss-up because of how bad it is. Any team in this division, I believe, could potentially win the division. Even though I had the Falcons at 4-13.
You never know. There's so much talent besides the QB on that team.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carolina Panthers at 7-10.
7-10.
They're in the division. Go ahead.
Number 2, I have the New Orleans Saints at 9-8. A bit low, but I just don't think Derek Carr will be very good in New Orleans. With
Like you
Dennis
said,
Allen
you're
here.
selling them.
Yeah.
Okay, so 9-8 New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have them in a playoff spot?
No, 8th, just outside.
Okay, go ahead.
I got the Falcons also tied with the Panthers at 6-11. I just think there's
Better division record for the Falcons to go over the Panthers.
I don't like the Falcons team. Like really, it's like kind of this Bijan is kind of like overhyping their team a little bit. I don't like the Falcons too much. I mean, again, if you look at all the teams they play, that they could easily lose to. And it's just a team that I wouldn't put too much trust in. Like, I could easily see the Falcons and the Panthers swapping. Like, the Panthers could be the second team in this division, but there's just not too much to offer with this Falcons team. Like, yeah, their offense is good, but that's, once again, it's like you got to rely on Desmond Ridder to make some plays. Like, yeah, he could be a good quarterback, but it's like, I just don't think he's a quarterback that'll be able to take this team to many, many wins in this. Like, I get their division kind of stings, but it's like, I'm not too much of a Desmond Ridder fan to put them anywhere higher.
I don't think anyone is here at this table a Desmond. Are you?
No.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, but you set me up perfectly for mine. I got the Atlanta Falcons coming in at 7-10. I got the three teams here at very very bad records. I do think the Falcons and Buccaneers, they have similar rosters. It seems like they have everything but the QB, but I'd take Arthur Smith over Todd Bowles as a head coach. I'd take Bijan Robinson over the Buccaneers running game. I'd take the Falcons O-line over the Buccaneers. There's just a little key things, but the reason this team isn't going to be good is because Desmond Ridder. Like, you can't expect him to come in here and just elevate all these guys here. They do have generational talent on the offense. Bijan Robinson, who's being overhyped in my opinion as well. Kyle Pitts, a so-called generational talent coming into the draft. Drake London recently drafted. And then with that top O-line, it's going to be hard for this team to win because they don't have a QB, which is the main thing. They're going to rely on the run game like crazy. Bijan Robinson's going to have probably one of the highest usage rates as a running back besides Derrick Henry maybe. And Falcons coming in at 7-10 for me. But I do have them splitting every game in the division, 3-3.
Yeah, because I don't expect how the Falcons are going to be insanely better than what they were last season. Like, to be honest, I don't see that huge of a difference. I mean, yeah, there might be a little difference between Ridder and Mariota, but I don't think there's a huge difference that, oh my God, we get a full season with Desmond Ridder and Bijan Robinson. This team's winning the division, going to the playoffs. Like, I just can't see it happening.
No, obviously.
Really. It's like, what? I mean, yeah, there'll be a big difference, but actually not a big difference. There will be a difference, but I don't see a drastic difference between what Algier did last season.
What were they? Sorry.
They were 7-10 last year.
Okay.
And they got better.
Only better by getting Bijan, but like, I don't think Bijan's going to come in and do anything extremely better than what Ty Algier did. Like, yeah, it'll be better, but it's like they're going to spam run just like what they did last year.
It's pretty rare that a running back by himself wins a game
Yeah.
nowadays.
And so what we'll do here, we did last episode, Jay goes through the Lions schedule. We'll go through you with the Falcons schedule because you do have them winning the division.
Do you want me to give my second one first and we can do that?
Yeah, no, we will. I'm just saying for after because he's got the record up here and I want to see why they're better. But quickly before we go here, I had the Falcons obviously at 7-10 here second. Key notable additions, Calais Campbell, Jeff Okudah if you want to put him in there. Jesse Bates as well
the big one.
is the big addition here to buff up the secondary. So the Falcons, they've added some key pieces, but can it make them a playoff team? I don't believe so. You don't believe so. I don't
especially
know.
with the Panthers getting better and the Saints getting better. That's why I don't think they'll beat the Saints. I think they'll split with the Panthers, right? So it's like, And then outside of the, I'll get into that part after we break down who they play.
That's
but
fine.
Like, yeah,
We'll go through it here. So number 2 for you.
2, I have the Buccaneers at 8 and 9.
That's fair.
That's mainly what he said earlier. He said with the quarterback, they're probably a playoff team, and that's why, because they still have some decent weapons on offense. Obviously, Mike Evans and Godwin. I think that can make Baker Mayfield look manageable because he's shown to have a pretty good arm, and he's had flashes of looking good, but he's not been consistent.
No.
And their defense the last few years has been pretty good, and they still have some players there. They said Vita Vea, Levante David, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Antoine Winfield Jr. I think they'll still look pretty decent, so I think they can win eight games. And same as him, I have them, or as you said for the team before, I had them splitting every team in the division, going 3-3.
Absolutely. So, Joey, number 1.
Number 1, Atlanta Falcons. I have them at 9 and 8, but
Okay.
they just have a better division record
Then the Saints.
So
What do you got,
they're
what do you
pretty
got
neck
the Falcons at division record? 4-2?
4-2,
And then
the
you got
Saints
Saints
at
3-3. Okay.
I just think they finished 7 and 10 when Ritter played at the end of the year. I don't know what the record was, but he showed flashes to be a good quarterback in a friendly system.
Yep.
And with the O-line, it's very run-friendly for Bijan and Tyler Algier. It'll be a two-headed monster back there.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they can unlock Kyle Pitts and then Drake London. I think he'll emerge as a breakout candidate this year. And their defense, I think it's not very good, but I think it'll be around like 20th in the NFL.
It's the better.
Which-
I think you could even
with
put it
an
a little
easy
bit higher.
schedule, yeah. That's why I have them at
So, yeah,
9 and 8.
we'll obviously go through this record, but here coming in at number 1.
Coming in at number 1, the record surprising. I had the Saints 13 and 4. I think that's like that's a great ceiling for them. It's doable. Because if
doable, but that's higher
if you
than me,
look
and I'm
at
the same
shit, but if you look at it, like the teams that they play, yeah, it's weak, and then the teams that they lose to, it's like okay, yeah, but then if I tell you the teams that they win, it's
We'll go.
yeah,
We'll go through your
that's
Saints
what I mean.
schedule.
It's gonna
here.
win, but like to be honest, Michael Thomas comes back healthy and actually plays, this team will be a lot different. He had that insane season with a Drew Brees that was completely aged out.
It was a while ago, but the last season, full season, he played healthy. He was the best receiver in the league.
And it was with a
a
Drew Brees that didn't have the arm distance that he had, so it was all these short routes. And then you got Olave, you can have them as the 1 or 2. Like I think this offense is just sky's the limit. Kamara only gets 3 games. What's 3 games going to do at the
Nothing.
start of the year?
Also,
'Cause
those 3 games are not different.
and if you go 2-1, who cares? To be honest, then they get Kamara back. They got Jamal Williams, it's going to take loads off Kamara in the end zone. You could just stuff Jamal Williams with these rushes right up the gut.
He's gonna be an improved version of what Mark Ingram was last year.
That will help
He'll do what he
Kamara
did
health-wise as well.
For sure, he'll do what he did on the Lions last year. He'll get a lot of touchdowns, but at the end of the day, it'll have good longevity for Kamara for the season,
Absolutely.
right? And then it's just
Absolutely.
maybe their defense is weak, but I don't really worry about a Saints defense. Like
I don't.
When I think of a
We said
Saints
it earlier.
when I think of a Saints defense, it's a defense that's great. Like okay, it won't sometimes won't be a top 3 defense, but it's not going to be a bottom feeding defense. They'll always pull out some crazy plays and stuff to win some games.
Yeah, so for me, coming in at first, I have the New Orleans Saints at 10 and 7. For me, the big thing is the weak division and the weak schedule. The one thing that holds me back from saying that they have this crazy upside of 13 and 4, I just have to go to the head coach. I thought Dennis Allen was on the hot seat last year, to be quite frank.
He should be.
I think he's not that good of a coach, and I think it kind of holds them back of their ceiling. If this team had Sean Payton, we could be talking about a 13-win team, I think, still, because he'd obviously make Derek Carr better, which we were talking about. He's a quarterback's coach. Lots of winnable games, weak division. They should make the playoffs and rely on Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara's health, because if you can get those 2 guys healthy into the playoffs, depending your matchup, we're talking, this is a home playoff game in the Superdome. With these weapons, you got Michael Thomas, Kamara, Olave, Jamal Williams now coming in, Jimmy Graham. I'm just kidding.
Jawan Johnson actually looked decent.
No,
He's not bad.
He is.
He's
He is
not bad.
definitely the number 1 tight end. I do like him, but New Orleans Saints coming in at a calm 10 and 7, 4 and 2 in the division, and for my playoff seed for the Saints, I do have them the last home slot, number 4, 10 and 7. I have the Saints coming in at.
So I had the Saints in between you two. I had them at 11 and 6, first seed in the division, and then 4 and 2 against divisional opponents.
Sorry, what was the record?
11 and 6.
Okay.
I think that that's obviously give or take a few games. I think what he said is not impossible. I think it's fairly unlikely. I agree with you. I did not like what I saw from Dennis Allen last year. I thought he was pretty bad as a head coach and made some key mistakes. But I didn't love the Derek Carr move. I think he's a decent quarterback. We just gave
Bridge quarterback.
Yeah, we gave him too much money, and I think we could have done the same thing with Winston healthy.
Yeah.
That we could have done with Derek Carr.
Hold on. Go.
Winston was good, but I just think it just the experience with Carr. Like, I don't care if he was bad last year. The year before that he was in the playoffs against a good Bengals team that ended up going to the Super Bowl, right? So it's like, you can't just completely trash Derek Carr from one bad season. Like, I think he can come in and distribute the ball enough to get them points on the board and win these games, because their defense will always keep them in games.
So before you go here, I think I don't think this anymore, but with Sean Payton, I thought Jameis Winston was more than capable of being a starting quarterback, because Sean Payton limits these type of mistakes that he makes, right? Mm-hmm. But if you throw him in now with Dennis Allen, I feel like he does have good weapons. He'd be like he was on the Buccaneers. He'd throw a shit ton of touchdowns, but he'd turn the ball over 2 times a game for sure.
I think Jameis never really got a fair chance.
He didn't.
The first year he came in, I think when he got hurt, we were like 6-2.
When he was dancing with the ACL.
Yeah, when he tore his ACL, they were like. Remember, like week 1, they blew out the Packers at home, and then they kind of had like a good streak of games, and then he got hurt. And then
that game where like his Rodgers
it was like
done
38-3, I think.
Yeah,
it wasn't even in New Orleans. Remember?
No,
that?
it was in Green Bay.
It was a home game, but it was because it was like the hurricane. They played in Jacksonville or something.
Yeah, and I remember because people are like, oh my gosh, Packers are done this year. Rodgers washed. But because the Saints kicked the shit out of them. Jameis Winston had like 5 touchdowns.
He had 5 touchdowns, like 130 yards. It was weird.
So Jameis Winston didn't get a fair shot. But
then this year he comes in and he plays, and then he gets hurt. Then they just start Andy Dalton the rest of the year pretty much, which was
kind of a tank, but you don't have a pick, which was weird to me. But
yeah, that's what they'll end up getting one. But
one thing that's very scary for the Saints is Derek Carr could shit the bed again, and this team falls out of a playoff spot. That's a very realistic option. If Derek Carr just shits it and his career's over, Jameis Winston has to go in midway through the season, not knowing he was going to play this year, and this team once again falls out of a playoff spot due to lack of quarterback play with a veteran roster ready to try to make the playoffs.
Let's be honest, in this division, the only way you're making the playoffs is if you win the division. I don't think any of the 3 teams who don't win are going to get a wild card spot.
No way. Even with a weak NFC, this division's too bad, I think. Does anyone here have a second seed in the division in the playoffs?
No, I don't.
In the Saints specifically, they have a very weak schedule.
Yeah, they do. So, we'll go through these schedules right now. So, Joey, we're going to go to your Falcons here quickly. Well, not your but for the episode.
Like the record?
Yeah, like what we have game by game.
Right.
We'll see if we disagree here, because you have the Falcons at 9-8, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I got them at 7-10, so we'll see here.
All right, first game against the Panthers, I have them winning.
That's fair.
Against Bryce Young in his debut, I think they win that. And then at home again against the Packers, I think they take that one. And then 2 games, Lions, they're in Detroit, they'll lose that.
That's fair.
And then in London against Jacksonville, Jaguars are good in London.
Yeah.
They win. And then I have them...
So you have them at 2-2 right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have them losing to the Texans.
Losing to the Texans, okay.
Yeah, losing to the Commanders, losing to the Bucks, and losing to the Titans. And then I have them like on a good streak here when they're fresh.
Call out whatever you disagree with for
I
these
have them
wins.
beating the Vikings, the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And then they have their bye week, and then I have them beating the Saints off a bye.
Don't have that.
I have them beating the Jets.
I didn't
beating
have
beating the Jets.
I have them beating the Bucks and the Panthers and the Colts.
Okay, that's fine. But I think the 2 here, I think I did have the Vikings beating the Falcons.
I had the Vikings beating
and
them
I
too.
also have the Jets beating the Falcons. I think that. What do you think for these games? It's going to be the reason that Desmond Ridder will beat Aaron Rodgers in these types of scenarios.
I'm just predicting like some upsets,
Yeah.
That's it. And then to finish out, I have them losing to the Bears and the Saints.
Losing to the Bears and the Saints. So split with the Saints. Sweep the Bucks. Sweep the.
No, sweep the Panthers. Split with the Bucks.
Split with the Saints.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you have here? Do you have the Vikings as a win, and then the?
Do you have
them losing to the Vikings and losing?
I had them beating the Vikings.
Okay.
I feel like it's just one of those games where it's
Smash
like,
mouth football.
or it's just like
Vikings can't stop the run, to be quite frank,
I
as
think
well.
they'll destroy
that too. And it's just one of the games where you look on the schedule and you think like, okay, yeah, the Vikings should win that game, but for some reason they don't. I feel like it's just one of those type of games that if you look at the Falcons schedule, like, hey, I think they can pull off this game against the Vikings. Like, do I think like is it 100% a lock that they beat the Vikings? No, but it could be one of those games where a critical error blows it and then all of a sudden they get it. It's just one of those fluke games.
One of those Kirk Cousins games, you can call them too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you have the loss against the Jets, right?
Yeah, I'd lost against the Jets, and I had them losing to the Colts just because it's so late in the year, week 16. I feel like at that point in the year, maybe they could get things clicking. Anthony Richardson, when Jonathan Taylor, if he stays there for the year, maybe they get some type of rhythm clicking towards the end of the year. That's a game that the Colts can just pull out.
So yeah, what do you have the Falcons record at?
6-11.
6-11. Okay. So we'll go to your Saints here. What you have, and if whatever you disagree with, just call it out. If you have the loss on, because he's got 13 wins here, so we'll go through it.
You want me to go week by week or just wins loss?
Just give us week by week. Week 1,
so
blah blah blah.
Week 1, I have them beating the Titans.
Okay.
Week 2, beating the Panthers.
I have the Panthers.
Let me know what
winning.
you have too, Wyatt. You have the
Okay.
Panthers winning. Do you have a split? Yeah, right.
I actually had the
Yeah.
Panthers winning week. I have.
Oh wait, yeah. You have a split for the Saints and the Panthers.
Yeah.
I actually had the Titans and Panthers winning. Saints go 0-2 to start.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Is the
Then-
Panthers at home?
Panthers,
at home.
Oh, yeah, with Kamara
in
gone.
Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. Go
Then
on.
week 3, beating the Packers.
Yep.
Week 4, beating the Buccaneers.
Okay.
Week 5, like this is one that I just like. It could easily be swapped. Wait, is this game in New England?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was one of the games where it's like I could put in the losses just because it's.
What do you
tough.
have? Win?
I have them beating the Packers, beating the Bucks, beating
No.
the Patriots.
Pats. You have them beating the
Just
Pats?
because it's a tough environment, I could
It is,
easily
yeah.
put it into a loss, but
That's one where the home team wins.
easily. But I think they win just because of how high I have their ceiling, right? So I have them beating the Patriots week 5, beating the Texans week 6, because all those games are easily winnable. And then you come to week 7 when you face a good quarterback, a good team, the Jags. I don't think they pull that one out.
I have them losing that. Too.
And then it's week 8, beating the Colts. Then I have them losing to the Bears week 9 because I feel like this is a game
Or just Fields
just runs
over.
around. Because
I have them winning that. It's at home. Then normally
Is that
pretty
in
good
the
at home.
Superdome?
Yeah, in the Superdome.
Yeah.
I
I
have
feel
them
like
winning that game.
I actually did have the Bears winning that game just because Fields has these games where he just runs
could.
around like a maniac, and you just can't stop
Because
him.
I think
He
there was
could,
a game.
but I'll say the Saints, they're normally pretty good at containing running backs, and mobile QBs haven't done amazing
So
against
are the
them.
Patriots.
Yeah, well,
and look what happened on
true.
Monday Night Football.
Anything can happen. I just think in the Superdome at home,
It will be
Saints
tough,
win that
but
game.
you never know what type of
Yeah.
games there are. Remember when the Giants a couple years ago beat the Saints
Yeah.
in overtime in the
Is
Superdome?
that, I think that
No,
it was
2 years
that
ago
was
when
2
the
years
Giants
ago,
were
you're right,
shit.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was a game last.
4 touchdowns.
I think there was a game last year or the year before that, but I remember a quarterback running all over the Saints. It might have been Lamar one game. I think he ran.
No, the Ravens did have a good game against them
Yeah?
this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I think it was
Oh,
Lamar
last
ran
year.
all over
The
the
primetime
Saints.
game.
was
on
it?
Monday Night Football.
I think they were pretty hurt that game though. if I
Yeah.
On
remember
Monday Night
So-
correctly.
Football, yeah.
So that's why I think Fields can pull that out. Then week 10, losing to the Vikings.
Okay.
I think.
I have them losing that game too.
I think
in
it's
Minnesota.
It's just a bad matchup on paper for
Yeah.
me. For
Yeah.
me, it is because,
Yeah.
like you said, the Falcons love to pound the ball. The Vikings are this high-powered offense where the Saints secondary's thin
Can
and they
maybe
can't
not
get
contain
pressure
it.
on the quarterback
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they do have a weaker D line in the league now.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can't get to Kirk Cousins and Kevin O'Connell can draw up these long scheme plays for Jefferson, it's toast. Remember the play he had in London? Not the one where he went over top of Lattimore, the one where he ran the deep crosser
Yeah.
across the field. The 2 DBs hit and he just ran.
And then remember they
So
brought
it's
in
tough.
Addison too, right?
Yeah,
so it's just
exactly.
something like Addison when he was in Pitt with Kenny Pickett there before he transferred to USC. He was balling. He had great numbers. And then when Pickett got drafted, he transferred to USC and still put up good numbers with Caleb Williams. So
Yeah.
I think it's easily doable. And then they get their bye week 11. Then off the bye, beating the Falcons. Sorry.
Yeah.
Then they play the Lions. I think the Lions are a good team. I think the Lions
the
beat it.
That's just a hard-nosed football game.
Yeah,
It's a shootout. I don't think the Saints will be able to
Also,
keep up with.
the Lions, they like bad environments. Like think back to last year, and
Packers.
how bad they wanted to spoil the Packers in Lambeau.
And these are two of the grittiest teams in the NFL.
Dan Campbell's made it a culture to like bad situations in Detroit.
Yeah, which they've obviously taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's a very good thing for a team. So go on.
And then after week 13 gets into crunch time, I have them winning out the rest of the year against the Panthers, Giants, Rams, Buccaneers, Falcons. So I have them sweeping their division, right?
fair.
I have them losing to the Bucks, but other than that, just
You got
at
6-0
home.
in the division.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just think I don't think the teams will be able to compete up with them.
I got 4-2.
For the division, I got 4-2. I got the Buccaneers taking one because I feel like that is still a rivalry. Lattimore and Evans are both still there. They're gonna hate each other no matter what. So I think that will split. And then I do have the Falcons winning one game off them.
Like, yeah, I have a 6-0 division, but obviously we know it's not going to happen. But I just think it's
Side question, just low for fun. Over under 0.5 ejections in the 2 games for the Saints and Bucks between Evans and Lattimore.
Over, and I'll tell you why. Because these two teams now, if the Buccaneers are getting blown out and they're just shit the whole year, and the second time they play them, Mike Evans will just fight Lattimore because there's nothing to play for.
Because especially the second time of the year, Mike Evans has always been an 1,000-yard receiver. What if in that game, week 17, they're both healthy, they're playing, then Mike Evans only has like 850 yards. He's pissed that his quarterbacks are garbage,
He won't get
not
that
doing.
1,000 yards.
And then maybe it'll just be 1 point. Lattimore lines up to him and man, and just
first, week 4.
I don't know. I didn't have like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, week 4. I think it's one of those games, week
But
17, where Lattimore might just line up right on the line
And Evans just
and
punches
just
him.
start
Yeah.
feeding him chirps like, "Shit, blah blah. I got 20 yards on me, whatnot." And then all of a sudden, Evans goes to run his route, just grabs him, and they're running to the sideline with each other, just like
It's
punching.
the biggest player
So,
rivalry
yeah.
in the NFL, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of rivalries on the field. Allen, Mahomes, you could say, and then they're best friends off the field, right? You see them at golf tournaments and stuff together. This is really...
They actually
these
hate
people
each other.
other.
runs
They
deep,
hate each
yeah.
other.
It's great for the game because you don't see that too often. But what do you say? You think an ejection happens in the 2 games between the two? I think absolutely.
I think one will happen.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to
I think
project.
Evans
I'll
is.
say yes.
I'd say Evans is more likely, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because he's like, when he gets pissed off, he'll just run up and cheap shot Lattimore after the whistle.
That week 2 is crazy.
When he just. He's done it a few times where like Lattimore just like has his back turned and he just comes in and smokes him.
But yeah, that's the NFC South done. And just the one last question here. We didn't go over yesterday training camp, or 2 days ago training camp news. Jonathan Taylor requested a trade out of Indy. So, one, do you see Jonathan Taylor getting traded? And if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, where to? Just your main destination. Go ahead.
To a team, I don't think he will get traded. But if he were to go to a team, in the Vikings maybe. I think I'd
That's
go
a
with
sleeper.
But I think the management there is like, we're not paying a running back, right?
Yeah.
Replace Dalvin Cook. I think they'll say.
No, I don't think they'll do that because the management's thinking like, we don't want to pay a running back.
Yeah,
They already showed that. But I guess Taylor's young. But another team would be the Bucks.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want another good running back there.
Go ahead. You see him getting traded?
I don't see him getting traded, but I would always like to keep my Dolphins in the mix just because you saw they tried for Saquon Barkley. It came out and said, and they didn't get
Dalvin
a deal
Cook's
done with
still
him.
looming.
Delvin Cook still looming in the air. It seems like they want an electric type running back where it's like, hey, they didn't land a Saquon deal. Delvin Cook, maybe they won't land a Delvin Cook deal because they don't want to overpay him because of his age and what's unexpected off an injury. And I think Taylor's a guy where it's like, I think he's still in his rookie deal, right? Whatnot.
Yep.
He's still a young running back. Hey, one injury, maybe he's proven, but people might disrespect him because of an injury. Maybe they don't think he'll come back the same. But I think it's a guy that, I mean, if they're shooting for a running back, I mean, why not take a swing on him?
Which
too?
team, sorry?
Miami.
Oh, yeah. No. I thought you said a different team.
No.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I don't think Jonathan. This happens.
Yeah.
Debo Samuel wanted out.
I don't think he goes.
Lamar wanted out. Now Jonathan Taylor. It's just another superstar that's just trying to bait to get paid.
Yeah.
Jim Irsay, like, he's one of the most brain dead owners in
Paying
the
money
league.
to free a whale.
But still, who knows? Jim Irsay, he's unpredictable. He's the new Dan Snyder. It seems like everybody's starting to hate him, but I don't think Jonathan Taylor will get traded. But if he did, I have a big sleeper. I have the Chicago Bears as a destination just because this team's always had a great run game. If you put Fields and Taylor in the backfield, that's madness in the backfield. And I think I've been thinking about it. You got to look which team would want to take on Taylor to pay him. Bears have a crap ton of cap room. Justin Fields RPOs with Taylor plus DJ Moore out there. I think it's a very scary combination. But if I were to have a destination for Jonathan Taylor, Chicago Bears for me.
I'd say honestly, it's more likely he doesn't get traded.
Yeah.
Just because as he said, happens a lot. Most guys, like, it took CMC a long time to get dealt. Like, he'd feel like for the whole season before he actually got traded, he wanted out.
Yeah.
And then it took him a while. He's kind of the only example I can think of that gets traded mid-season, and it's looking like it's not going to happen before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
If I did have to pick a team, I'll go with Buffalo, just to say that, because
just another team that's in the mix.
they've been looking
obviously.
for weapons. They were big going after Hopkins. They're
They
still
had the
trying to get
Henry
weapons.
rumors too at the start of
Yeah,
the
they're
offseason.
still trying to get
all that.
weapons, and that would be pretty fun to watch. Josh Allen and Jonathan Taylor in the same backfield.
Yeah, like that running RPOs with a big time quarterback
That would be
is very dangerous.
Power backfield.
Yeah, but yeah, that's gonna do it for episode 14 of the Alec Frengos Show. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will be back Friday with a new division, which I don't know, but we'll see soon.
Okay.